I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the playoff postseason basketball podcast. I'm Ben Detrick. With me, as usual, Jordan Redaelli is here.
That's right. That's right. I really am here. Here.
Yeah, you're here.
I'm here.
You know who else is here?
Wild fucking guess. Is it Andrew Kuo?
What's up, guys? How's your summer going? Trusting the procedure?
I trust the procedure. Jordan, do you trust the procedure?
I don't really trust much, to be honest.
That's a good answer.
Trust no one.
I don't.
I see you came in with a new pair of pink pleated pants.
Yes, I like the color pink. It's, but only really in pants or hoodies. Pink hoodies, pink pants, pink shoes. Pink t-shirts are lame. Pink shirts are worse. I once had a pink ski mask, which I wore upon a dare to... I was naked except for a pink ski mask. And I went into a gas...
As one does.
And I went into a gas station and...
How old were you?
19. I was 19 years old. I went into a gas station, asked for a packet of cigarettes, naked except for a pink ski mask, and just walked out without paying. And then realized that was kind of a robbery of sorts when I sobered up.
You robbed them of... you robbed yourself of your dignity.
That's true.
But it was pretty... This was before, like, surveillance, right? So there weren't, like, cameras.
Oh, no, there was cameras in there. I was shitting my pants for a week after that I was going to get arrested for being the naked pink balaclava.
But you were unarmed, so it was not armed
I was
robbery.
unarmed. But I remember he, like, said $15 or whatever, and I, like, patted my invisible pants and just walked out with them.
Oh, so you took them without paying.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And it was so awkward that he didn't
Sounds
apprehend
like we
you.
got ourselves a little petty larceny over here.
It was definitely...
Oh, it sounds like we got a petty larceny cop over here.
Yeah.
Officer, bring him in.
Past the statute of limitations, Ben. This was like 55 years ago. It's fine.
Well, the joke's on you, Jordan, because this entire podcast, since its beginning, was designed to get you to confess to this crime on tape, and now we have it.
Good.
Take him down.
Throw me in jail.
Jordan's next podcast will be from the local jail. I like all those shows.
It's called Shower Survival.
All those shows where it's like they show the guy getting caught, and it's like his next stop, county lockup.
Our buddy spent a year in jail, this decade, and for like a bunch of like graffiti related crimes, and then he committed another crime and they sent him away for a year, and he was telling us all about it, and he was like, it was actually like pretty enjoyable because when you're there for not that long, everyone's on their best behavior. So he like made very close friends and like played chess all the time. They called him the professor because he had glasses and a beard, and he just like watched a ton of TV and read every book. And he was like, I think at that age he was like 25. So he was like, it kept me out of trouble for a year because I was getting into a ton of trouble. It's interesting.
Oh, looks like someone's in favor of the criminal justice system. Some people want to reform it. Kuo says makes you a better person.
Is the Yang Gang trying to get rid of privatization of... Everyone's trying to get rid of privatization of jails, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's kind of amazing is you have these political things where anyone with like decency wants to get rid of private prisons, and then you have the other side that's like, no, actually, I think more private prisons are the solution. It's like there's not even like like maybe some private prisons are cool. It's like, of course they're bad.
Listen, I wouldn't make money off of my prison that I own if you didn't get into trouble.
Oh, is this like your weird fucking like apartment commune thing that you're gonna slumlord?
No, I'm asking for zero money.
Your utopian prison.
I was gonna win the lottery.
Now it comes out.
Yeah. Wait, you're asking for zero money to put people in prison? How are you going to keep them there?
He just loves people being incarcerated. It's
Yeah.
the joy of having them under his thumb.
It's sort of like we incarcerate our listeners for 2 hours twice a week.
And that is not an experience that makes you a better person.
No.
Unlike county lockup.
You guys heard about this UFO thing?
That was
I guess it's a
that
couple
was a
weeks
seamless, effortless segue. Go on.
Actually, to completely honestly answer your question, no, I have not heard about this UFO thing. I mean, I'm aware that they exist.
Do you know what it stands for?
Yes.
Okay.
Unified Frontal Office.
No, that's what happens when you walk in naked with a ski mask. Unified frontal office.
A pink ski mask,
Yeah.
which is
Baby pink.
yeah, which is definitely a lesser of a visual than a black ski mask, or a white ski mask would be kind of
Yeah. And this was a long time before the old Spring Breakers. Maybe they saw the tape.
So
The
so
tape
what-
is
what-
out there.
So, what do you want to talk about
Well,
UFOs?
talking about the truth is out there. There's fighter pilots that say they've seen UFOs as they fly. So these weird objects that don't like move with the wind currents and just change directions. And it was substantiated by the paper of record, New York Times. And then one guy just gave an interview last week and being like, "I'm telling you right now, I saw one." And other people have chimed in. Some people are just like, yeah, of course we knew about these UFOs. And Bill Nye was just like, it's just a development. Like, the Army's not talking to each other enough. But it's weird how it flew, no pun intended, under the radar because...
Was that pun intended?
Yeah, that was the second part was definitely pun intended.
Well, when people say no pun intended, it's always intended. It's sort of like, don't take offense, but... And then you say an offensive thing.
So that was an intended pun.
Of course, it's always intended when you say no pun intended.
Ah.
It's like the changing of...
When
So you
did-
have to say the pun and then apologize, repent for your pun, and then that's when you realize that there was no pun intended.
Sure.
So the other day I was watching a movie, not to get too far off topic, where they were crucifying old JC, hammering him to the cross. And it
Jerry
was-
Colangelo?
Yes. Well, I mean, we know who crucifies the Colangelos. Yeah, so they nails through the, I think it went through both feet, which is the grossest part. And as they were hammering this like giant nail into his feet,
Did
I
they go
said-
with the crown of thorns? Did they get that involved?
I don't remember.
Did the Crown of Thorns exist? Because I know it was part of Notre Dame, and they rushed it out of there. And then when that came to light, everyone was like, it brought up the discussion of like, was there a Crown of Thorns?
I'm going to say there was a crown of thorns.
What was
Good
the
visual.
significance of this fucking crown of thorns?
Just another like painful thing.
Oh,
You're
another painful
sweating.
thing.
It's getting in the little thorn holes.
Oh,
Why
your
would they
little
give him a
thorn-
crown?
Because it's like a painful crown, like a crown for being the biggest loser.
It's like a painful $20 you find on the street. It's like a good thing.
It's like a
But it's
barbed
a
wire
bad thing.
beanie.
Sandpaper ski mask.
Exactly. So anyway, when they put the fucking nail in his feet, I exclaimed, "Jesus Christ!" without really realizing or remembering that was indeed his name. So that was a pun unintended. But if I had
It's
said,
not really a pun, though.
well, okay.
More of a coincidence.
Coinky dink.
Because if you said like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could have said, holy shit. Why are these exclamations always religiously based?
Some of them are.
Like, fuck me drunk.
For fucking out loud.
For Christ's sake. Jesus Christ. For
God
God's
damn it.
sakes. God damn it.
Holy hell. Hell in a handbasket.
Hail Satan.
Karl Marx is my daddy. No. Question. UFOs. That doesn't mean they're aliens, though.
It doesn't mean
So, like,
anything.
we proved the existence of things that we didn't identify, but we already knew
But
that.
where's the proof?
But
Oh,
what's,
there's
the,
video. There's video.
Where's the video?
but what's the
on
proof of
TV.
what? The proof is what? That we didn't know what something was?
Well, it's not a debate. It's sort of, the issue is kind of like, why don't we care more about this?
What, that there's like new weird drones that can zip around laterally, or
So this is, at the risk of sounding like a weirdo, I believe there's like alien life forms already here, and those are like cephalopods and mushrooms and fungus and stuff. For a number of reasons, they don't behave like any other organism. They have like brain activity on a cellular level. Their DNA strands don't really match up with anything on Earth. Stuff like that.
Are they von Neumann probes?
Explain.
I wanted to figure out how to tie that to basketball, but like I wasn't sure. I've
God,
thought about this.
I love it
before.
when he does this. He's like, how do I bring this really ridiculous time-filling conversation back to basketball somehow?
How do
No,
I,
no.
How do I probe a story in basketball?
So the von Neumann, I think it's Neumann.
Newman.
Or is it Neumann?
It could be von Neumann.
Von Neumann sounds more scientific.
All right, I'll use that. The von Neumann probes are self-replicating satellites or spacecraft. That's the theory, is that that's what some UFOs are. That they have been here before humankind, and as the Earth sort of developed, that these probes have just been there from ancient civilizations. Sure. And the idea is that, like, if some beings were that developed at any point in the history of the universe, then those probes would be everywhere. Because, like, you build them, they would fly to a planet, they would use the natural
Like the Mars
resources to create more of themselves, the next one would fly on, and they would essentially populate the entire universe. And that's like one explanation for these sort of hovering things or ideas that move, or not ideas, things that move, that they are here floating above us and not just visiting. That's just what the von Neumann probe theory is.
There's not a lot of them then.
No, the theory isn't that there's a lot of them here, but that they're kind of all over the universe, because of the way that if the universe goes forever and is eternal, then if some life force had the ability to do that, then it would have happened.
Sounds a little bit Transformers: The Last Night to me.
This isn't my theory. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm saying that's one explanation for there being like UFOs that aren't necessarily visiting alien spacecraft.
That's an interesting. It reminds me of like I listened to some person talk today, and this is related to this new HBO show. Well, I guess Years and Years, whatever. But they talk about like virtual space a lot. So there's this guy who wrote a book about like what would it take to create an exact virtual simulation of what we think this life is, and the answer was like the totality of life, which was like kind of like made my head spin a bit. It's like, oh yeah, it would just take every ounce of what this life is to create a virtual version of it.
I gotta say, I've never been one for these highfalutin ideas, such as this is all a simulation. But I feel like it's a little more convincing.
Come on, you're a basketball fan. How can you not believe in the simulation?
No, I'm saying I kind of think this is a simulation.
I mean, it's not a simulation, right? It's an annoying thing to say. Like, you never want to be standing next to the guy at a party who talks about simulation. Walk the other way. Right?
No, right, it sucks. But I'm kind of like, yeah, probably it is.
Yeah, totally. And that's my whole point with UFOs. It's like, we found UFOs. It's like, yeah, probably. You know, like, sure. It's like, no, but they're UFOs. Like, yeah, we know. Are they dangerous? Because if not, I just don't care.
What? Even if they are dangerous, what the fuck are you going to do about it?
Jordan, is this a simulation?
Call Will Smith.
No.
Okay, I like that. A firm no on this is being a simulation. I respect that.
It's my life. It's now or never. I don't want to live forever.
Is that a Kinks song?
I believe it's
Don't shame
the
him.
poet John Bon Jovi. But probably written by the actual poet Richie Sambora.
Was he married to Heather
Actually,
Locklear?
he was. Tico Torres was the guy, though. He had the Ava Herzegova.
If you dated Heather Locklear, you have an inside track to being part of the Lakers' legacy mystique. You could be their GM if you spent a couple passionate nights with Heather Locklear. I feel like that would fit the criteria that the Buss family is looking for.
Why? Who spent some nights with Heather Locklear in the Lakers organization?
Just that general genre of 80s celebrities, Los Angeles.
So you're saying that Vince Neil could be the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Very possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
Point
saying
proven.
that
Yes.
you're saying that Tommy Lee could be the GM of the Los
100%.
Angeles Lakers?
Yes.
100.
Yes. Like, absolutely that.
You're saying that Josh Hartnett could be the GM of the Los Angeles
He basically
Lakers?
is right now.
I feel like he's kind of de facto GM when he's not at Union Pool.
I've gotten Courtney Cox and Heather Locklear confused my whole life because Courtney Cox was famously in that Bruce Springsteen video, and she doesn't seem to age ever.
Well, I mean, have you seen her in the last 10 years?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But when Friends was,
I believe it's called Falling Off a Cliff.
but when Friends was popular, that was like 20 years after that video, maybe 15. But Heather Locklear, in my mind, similarly does not age. Like there's always they reproduce like UFOs. They just populate celebrity culture.
Neumann probes?
They are Neumann probes. There's always a version of that in celebrity culture.
Yes, absolutely true. And it all goes back to the Barbie twins, who
Brad
are
Pitt-
self-replicating themselves.
Is Brad Pitt a Neumann probe?
Yes.
Great. And now he's headed back to space in his new film, Ad Astra. September 21st in IMAX and Williamsburg Cinema.
Thank you for that. And, Kuo, are you suggesting that these unidentified objects are, in fact, alien life or alien craft? Is that what you're trying to say to us and the Cookies audience, Andrew Kuo?
Yes. I mean, but it's not that scandalous. Like, we're more scandalized by, like, a tweet our president makes, who's arguably as strange as an unidentified flying object. But we saw these things on TV, and I'm just like, I've seen cooler stuff in a Will Smith movie.
How big are these fucking things?
Apparently the size of the jet plane looking at it. And one flew really close, and the guy was, like, telling the first-hand experience of that. And you can hear him be like, holy what? Some, like, religious...
Did he say, kick them tires and light them fires?
But the Bill Nye, who they call Bill Nye the Science Guy on TV. It's like Bill Nye the Science Guy went on TV and was just like, this is a military experiment, and they're just not talking to each other within that organization.
Is that because he only believes in human science and not alien science?
He was just going with probability. He was like, it's probably not an alien. It's like the Occam's razor. Another annoying thing, if you hear at a party, walk away.
Yeah, I simultaneously believe that, of course, there are aliens and they've probably visited us, and these are absolutely not aliens.
That's fair.
I
That's fair.
hold both of those
Yeah.
contradictory thoughts about these things that pilots have seen. Like, of course, they're not aliens.
But like,
sure, there's aliens out there.
But what are things that like we used to be so scared of and think about so much that we're just like not impressed with now? I mean, we can talk about language forever.
Golden State Warriors?
We care so much still. You don't. You tried to cancel them, except
I canceled
they came roaring back
I
to
canceled them.
life.
They've been canceled. Their championships all vacated.
That's what I heard. But like we used
The
to care.
Spurs are the last legitimate champion.
It's only the Orlando Magic from here on out.
AIDS.
Well,
That was something that everyone was very, very scared of, and now it's almost like it doesn't exist anymore. It's very strange, because it still does.
It took over the entire like storytelling landscape for like 2 decades.
It's really nuts if you go back and watch the first couple seasons of Law & Order that came out in the 80s or early 90s. I forget.
Shout out to Dick Wolf.
Legend. But the plots for so many of those episodes are like race riots, AIDS, maybe another race riot, and then AIDS. And it's really telling about the social climate of that moment, because we don't talk about either of those things, particularly right now, in that same way. Yeah. And granted, those shows, that the formula there was created in order to spur conversation and have moral ambiguity that would be debatable. And that was what those shows were about. And they were a little, but
like
they
Star
were,
Trek.
But specifically Law and Order was supposed to have that spongy middle ground that would make you sort of wonder who was right in this situation, or was it justified, or should they have been prosecuting this guy? That was the idea.
Is he a dick or is he a wolf?
And now it's obviously much more like, oh, we caught the serial murderer.
Right.
And in like SVU.
SUV.
I mean, the conversations surrounding
SVU.
I mean, the fear of not to be too dark, but you asked a question, and that was the first thing that came to mind. The fear surrounding AIDS subsided so much that the most popular form of entertainment for the last 15 years has been zombie and contagion movies and TV shows, which are basically like a parable for those kind of viruses. People just like, wow.
Or the original Zombies, correct me if I'm wrong, was a parable for consumerism, right? Capitalism. It was Night of the Living Dead.
Yes, that initial one, yes.
But yeah, the disease thing is there. And I was actually talking to someone about like the disaster that is the X-Men franchise. And in the comic books in the 80s, it kind of ended with like an AIDS narrative. And they haven't touched that at all in the movies. And people are wondering if it's going to come out.
I was never sure if that monster movie franchise was supposed to be about like bigotry on race, or was it about religion or culture?
Puberty.
I mean, I literally have no idea because I don't like monsters for children. But was the X-Men identified in the same way as Night of the Living Dead about having sort of a social construction?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Like pretty explicitly.
Yeah. But I cannot deal with the zombie narratives, really. I'm looking forward to World War Z too, though. Believe me.
World War Z 1, underrated classic.
Really
or
enjoyed it.
rated. It was well loved, right?
Not viewed well, I believe. I believe a lot of people
Because it
didn't
was a
go
hit
see
book,
it.
right?
Yeah, I believe they lost money on it. But is it David Fincher making the new one?
Yeah.
Sick.
But yeah, the zombie narrative. I mean, there was like Zombie Pride and Prejudice that was like a hit book. Like it's sort of like your Hitman thing. You could just like make anything a zombie. So you could have the zombie Knicks, which they kind of are right now anyway. Can you do the zombie Sixers?
Zombie formalism?
I miss zombie formalism a little bit. That was an era where a lot of these young painters were like painting images that were created by different means of execution. So, for example, like you load up a spray container with paint and you spray it onto a canvas. So it's like the children of Jackson Pollock, whatever. And it was really frowned upon because they sold for a ton of money and it felt like the market was the whole thing. Just to give back, because when you say zombie formalism, no one really knows what you're talking about.
I definitely didn't know what he was talking about.
I remember hearing the phrase and using it to apply to basketball in a story for The Ringer, and had you have to describe it, what it was. I was like, that's a cool phrase, and I need to figure out how to make it a basketball thing. And I believe it was applied to discussing rebuilds, where everybody just does the same thing in a sort of like rote standard procedure for how you rebuild a franchise. I think that was my
it could
perhaps
work.
erroneous way of using it.
It could work. It's interesting you mentioned that. I have another writer friend who one time called me and was like, I want to mention the process, but can you just like talk to me about it really quick just so I don't misuse it? Because he used like trust the process in describing like a politics or something, which I thought was interesting.
Did you tell him that he needs to research Tony Roten?
It was Roten, a classic album by Lil Nas X, who took his name from Lil Wayne, Nas, and DMX, which is amazing.
I
and
did not know
very
that.
Gen Z,
He's a great celebrity.
millennial. Yeah, I love him. His album, a little uneven, but who cares?
You know, I don't know what he looks like.
He, what basketball player does he look like?
Troy Murphy.
Keith Van Horn.
Mike Conley Jr. at the NBA Awards show was a terrifying sight.
Wow, what happened?
He had possibly the skinniest jeans I've ever seen on a person.
Boomer? That's a boomer trait right there.
He looked like, he actually looked like the cartoon, the animated Peter Pan.
Did he win the award for, like, favorite guy? Like,
Yeah, best glue guy.
the D'Angelo Russell Award, they call it, famously.
All team.
He seems like a really nice guy.
Type Bros from way back when award.
Yo, like, the Grit and Grind crew, other than Tony Allen, who probably, like, is weird, seem like really nice guys.
I think Tony Allen's awesome.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, he's notoriously awesome, right?
Yeah, notoriously.
So they must be
Infamously
the best.
awesome.
Infamously awesome.
Because Marc Gasol, everyone loves Marc Gasol. He's having a moment. Zebo seems like the best.
Marc Gasol had a moment last summer, and there's a really good article written about when he went out with the boats off the coast of Spain to look for immigrant vessels that were in trouble.
He's the best. He's the
and
best.
they were going around the high seas, and they
What?
and they
Yeah.
they found a boat with people who were desperate, and they like pulled them in to save them, and then brought them to shore. And like Marc Gasol was there on the boat
But
as part of this operation.
Him and Powell have been doing humanitarian work their entire lives. I mean, Powell studied medicine and did a lot of Doctors Without Borders stuff. So it seems like Mama Gasol really raised them boys right.
Memphis, grit and grind. I mean, they're embarking on their rebuild, but yeah, pour out a little liquor for the grit and grind Grizz. A very good team, won 50 games a couple times. Like outside contender, didn't quite have the firepower to win a title, but were really good for a decent amount of time. That was a fun franchise.
Which was the original source of my misconstrued comment on cookies years ago when I said defense doesn't matter. Defense does matter, but with grit and grind, they had the best defense, but no one could score, so they just had no chance.
In some ways, that's kind of the ideal way you want a non-champion to be. If you're looking at it from the NBA's perspective, having a team that's very good, identifiable, beloved by its city. No one really expected them to win a title, but they were good. So it's viewed in a positive sense. It wasn't like, yeah, grit and grind never got over the top. Like, they weren't Lob City.
Yeah.
Where we view it as a sort of spectacular failure or lack of playoff success, considering the talent. But grit and grind, everyone's happy with what happened with that entire franchise. People are even happy that they're trading their guys. So
They have 4 championships, man, in our hearts. Like sort of like when Knicks fans are like, well, we had that one championship when John Starks dunked. We had that other championship when Charles Spearwell got traded to the Knicks.
The Sixers won one this year.
Ben Simmons has 1 championship. Kevin Durant has 0.
Yeah,
Do the math.
Everyone in
Gang
the Sixers
bang.
is happy. They won a title this year.
Yeah.
Best team in the NBA. How did we like the NBA award show? Because I did not tune in.
I did not either.
I just looked at the pictures of them afterwards. I watched Giannis's, excuse me, choking up myself. Heartfelt speech. It was very nice.
He had a very nice line, which was just like, I'm going to butcher it, but it was like, children can't see their future. It's the job of parents to see the future for them. I thought that was like really well
It
done.
was very cool. And
Yeah.
that seems like that's why my mom is my hero. God damn it. I loved James Harden, not going to turn up if they'd already told him that he hadn't won, but it's such a Rockets move. God, they suck.
Was there a Nicki Minaj moment? Did someone come out and perform, and did James Harden enjoy it?
He wasn't there.
I know, but the hypothetical, did Giannis enjoy a performance? Who performed?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because remember
I
that
don't even
Nicki
know who-
Minaj came out in the thing, and James Harden was very psyched.
Is this the best way to announce the winners?
No.
There's been some criticism. People, I think, are dismayed by how late it is. It's only a couple weeks after the season, but because of the draft, because of impending free agency, it feels like old news. I think that's one critique. And also, people just don't seem to love the award show format.
Also, I think it's lame. It's a regular season award. I would rather go into the playoffs knowing that Giannis was the regular season MVP, and that as a regular season MVP, he has to get it done in the playoffs. If he doesn't, that's it. It adds better narrative to it, and it also might give, say, James Harden the extra fire that he might need to get over the second round hump.
It's going to make him want it more.
It's going to make him want it more.
I mean, you're
'Cause
right.
He didn't want to make the finals.
No.
But if he had known that he was going to be snubbed for the MVP,
He would have wanted it.
that
He would have
extra
wanted
10%
that
of desire could have been crucial in Game 6.
I mean, or maybe it's crucial for Rudy Gobert to, know that his tears weren't for naught.
I mean, I agree with all of that, and that was the criticism, right? Because you don't have the optic of AI holding the trophy up before a playoff game, which is nice. But criticizing and arguing about MVP and award shows, it feels boomerish. It feels like I don't even care. I just don't care at all.
I don't care at all about who wins the MVP or any of these awards in any way, shape, or form.
How are there 2 6-men award candidates from the same team?
one of them was the 7th.
Is that
Should there be an
Montrez?
eighth man? Yeah, Montrez and Lou Williams were both up for 6th man of the year.
Total bullshit.
That doesn't add up, Yang.
I don't even like the 6-man award. We talk about this too much, though. It's
Yeah,
just a stupid award.
I hate award. These awards are just awful. John Wall looked super stoned when he muffed that teleprompter line, which was great.
I
Respect
mean,
to
what
John Wall.
else are you going to do? You can't walk. You might as well get stoned.
John Wall's the best.
So my thing is this. The NBA, for whatever their successes and failures, have generally been malleable. When they adjusted the All-Star format to have a draft, people said, hey, that should be televised. And then they went and did that. They changed up the rookie game to being an international versus domestic showcase for the first and second year players.
Great move.
So they're down to do interesting things, which I think is a cool thing about the NBA, that they're always sort of tweaking the rules to the game a bit. They're always trying to figure out ways to be more of a spectacle to some degree. And I feel like this award show, they're getting some of the moments they want. The Giannis, oh, this is emotional, and him, him being on stage. And maybe they're just getting a fat check for the show to be broadcast. But I do think they are probably sensitive to the idea that it makes for better storylines if you announce these awards right after the season, before the playoffs start, just for spectacle. Because, again, we don't care who wins it. But if Giannis is the MVP and then they lose to Kawhi, that's more interesting than Giannis being announced that he was actually MVP 3 weeks later. It's just more fun when Dirk Nowitzki flames out against Don Nelson and the Warriors as the MVP. And he has to get the trophy.
He hates Dirk. Dirk is the most well-loved player in the history
The
of the
reviled
NBA.
German Dirk Nowitzki.
What the fuck, Ben?
He did not see that coming.
Oh, wow.
But remember him getting the trophy and then just...
I really find that strange, like all this German hatred coming from a German.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Also,
Your name looks like Reich.
I'm not German. I've found that out.
Okay, what are you then?
you Elizabeth Warrened yourself? Did you do
I
one
didn't.
of those?
I didn't. Some of my relatives did from the side of the family that was ostensibly German, where the last name Detrick comes from. Like 2% German. It's fraudulent.
What are you 90% of?
Just like Irish, English, just
makes
really
sense.
boring shit.
Wow, trusted procedure.
Yeah, that's why I go outside for 10 minutes in this balmy weather and I melt into a little pink pool.
But isn't this award show boring? Sort of like the ESPYs are boring because like athletes aren't good celebrities. So like
Yes.
you're hoping for the NBA is hoping for Giannis to get up there and like kind of feel something, which he did. But don't you want something funny like a Kanye moment? Don't you want like James Harden to get up there and be like, "That's right, I didn't win, but I really won," and like whatever, mic drop, whatever.
In my experience from interviewing athletes occasionally, they are generally taught to be boring. The only thing that can kind of hurt an athlete out of an interview is people talking about what they said.
Yeah, totally.
Their entire job is to sit there and be like, let me answer in vague ways that are kind of defanging but kind of satisfy what you're looking for, and we can move along. Because they're required to talk to you by the NBA. And for an athlete to make some statements that are discussed and become a thing is really the downside of any interview they take. So now when you're like, all right, now get up on stage and be fun and be entertaining, it's like, that's not what we do.
No.
Our job is to play basketball and keep our head low. So maybe there's guys like Jalen Rose who have these opinions that they want to express, but that's not necessarily the guys who win awards.
J.R. Smith, Rasheed Wallace, Ron Artest, they don't win awards.
That's what I mean. The guys who have the personality and enjoy the idea of public discourse and are comfortable being in that spotlight aren't necessarily the guys who are going to win awards.
Because people don't invest in like character, like molding with them.
Do you know, well, go ahead. I was going to say the low key who is a pretty good NBA celebrity is Kevin Love.
He's fun.
He's fun.
Does that podcast with Channing Frye, I believe?
Yeah, and he's married to a supermodel who he...
Who's he married to?
I don't know her name, but she's some big model. But he does a lot of yoga on cliff tops with her. And I think it's kind of like to help out her brand just as much, like couples yoga. I kind of respect it.
Are supermodels just models now?
I don't know.
Well, you've seen that with now. There's like Instagram models.
Well, I mean, she's like a Victoria's Secret model. She's like a legitimately like.
But they throw the
famous
Instagram model in it before. Now is like a term. It's like Markel Fultz and his Instagram model girlfriend. It's definitely
That's classist.
It's definitely shade.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's shade or if it's actually just because there are people who I guess are independent models. Like they have started their following on Instagram. They may not even be signed to an agency. They may not do editorial or runway work. They just exist modeling clothes on Instagram.
It's certainly accurate.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
But there,
shade.
but there is a little hint of like an Instagram model.
Oh, that's shade. I take that as shade. But also, I get confused because
Maybe you guys are just ashamed of your own Instagrams.
I don't
Look,
have
you're an
anything.
Instagram model, so I know this cuts to the marrow.
Because there were 5 supermodels in the 80s, right? Like the Herb Ritz ones, like Sidney Crawford, Naomi Campbell,
Linda.
Evangelista, right? God, we're boomers, man. We sound like boomers. But now,
Shalom.
was she one of them?
I think so. Maybe she might have been second gen.
These were such
Elle
famous
McPherson.
people. Yeah, these were
Yeah,
very
that's like
famous
that's your
people.
NBA
Dream team.
all
Top
five,
five dead
top
or
5
alive.
right there, like first all team supermodel.
Who's Clyde Drexler? On the outside looking in. I don't know.
Naja Alman.
I don't know who that is, but sounds good.
Tatiana Petitz.
Yeah, just assorted Eastern Europeans, like just filling in the blanks. The Dirks, if you will.
She was the one that was naked on the table in the movie Rising Sun, starring our man Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery.
Can we switch gears and
Yeah.
talk about
Basketball?
Donald Trump?
Oh yeah, what do you got?
He goes on, and we're recording this in the afternoon, but this morning the Women's World Cup is going on, which has been super fun to watch. That last game was a nail biter, but for the USA. But the star player Megan Rapinoe has had issues with Trump before, and it was, I guess, the White House said they would invite the team, win or lose, to the White House for the press day that they do with championship teams. And Megan Rapinoe, quote, said, "I'm not going to the fucking White House."
With the fucking in there?
Yeah. And as she was like putting on her cleats and stuff, it wasn't like she just said that, it's just like, I'm not going. And Donald Trump gets on Twitter, a popular website, toxic website, and goes after the NBA and says like, what, these people disrespect all this stuff. What do you mean she's not coming now? Now the NBA.
Did he see a photo of her and think it was Keith Van Horn? How did he get from soccer to basketball?
It's like, what have we become? Now, like, this team doesn't want to come to the White House, and the NBA won't use the word owners for owners anymore.
Gotcha.
And he's just like, what have we become as a society? America's better than it's ever been. Thank me. Like, whatever. Classic stuff. But it's interesting because a week ago, Dave Silver got rid of the word owner in reference to NBA governors. People who own stake in NBA franchises are no longer known as owners. What do you guys think?
Jordan, you want to jump on this?
I mean, I think it's fine. Like, they can do whatever they want. I think it's a little bit silly. It's like, I'm not like the governor of my 10-speed bicycle. Like I'm not the
But should you be?
maybe, but like I don't know. If I own a pizza shop, I'm not the governor of a pizza shop.
It's just not, the governor is like not the right word. It means the right thing, but it doesn't flow well.
I understand the connotation that they're looking for with governor, which is that these franchises exist in the same way that states do.
Yeah.
And this happens to be the person who's in charge of it now. And that, like, if they sell the team, someone else will become the governor. For this time being, this franchise is under the governorship of this bunch of, chinless hedge funders.
Sure.
But also governor makes it sound like they're elected.
Yeah.
Which they are absolutely not. They are the opposite of being elected.
Yeah, I mean, what would be a better word? I mean, I agree.
I mean, also, that's gotta suck, man. Like, you go to some, like, fancy, like, eyes wide shut party, and you see, like, a babe there, and you're like, yeah, I own the Pelicans. She's like, oh, shit. You're like, I'm the governor of the Pelicans. You're not getting laid. And that's, like, half the reason these dudes are buying teams, out here buying teams.
Governor of the Pelicans.
I'm the governor of JD in the straight shot.
I'm the viceroy of the Charlotte Hornets. I think investor would make sense.
Investor's cool.
Like majority investor, minority investor. I just think doing it in financial terms makes sense. Mm-hmm. I also understand why you would want the phrase owner to be minimized. It's kind of loaded, even if we understand what it means in this context. It's a way for the NBA to sort of kind of try to take the steam out of management labor that has a real racial dynamic in the NBA.
Super, yeah.
And them to be like, actually it doesn't, because we're not owners anymore. Like it you know what I mean? It's like they can say it's sensitive to the players, but what they're really trying to do is change the visibility and the optics of the relationship between a bunch of owners who are white dudes and extremely wealthy and a league which is predominantly black guys.
Yes.
And they're like, it's all good now. They're not called owners.
Well, yeah, it's more of a nudge than like a push, right? Like, I agree with Jordan on the face value. It's just like, oh, it feels odd, but then it's like I'm here for it.
But it's also it seems somewhat empty. Like, it seems like a bit of a token gesture to me to maintain their standing as the most progressive league in the let's say world.
That's a pretty progressive move, though. I'm into it. Like, that's a nudge towards a culture change that. Just tell me what to do, man. I don't love that word.
On the other hand, it is also the NBA seeing the writing on the wall.
Yes, it's reading the room.
And not only a sort of performative gesture of sensitivity, but the reality of we saw how they responded to Clutch and LeBron, and they were not happy.
Yeah.
And there was outrage.
You mean the governorship?
The collective ownership. They were outraged by
collective governorship. Come on, get
what
this
is
right.
it? What are the chances that the thing that's actually bothering Donald Trump is that in the NBA hierarchy, a governor has more power than the president of a team?
If only thoughts were that linear in his worm
The
brain.
governor?
He's like, can I be the governor of the U.S.?
I'm the governor of a sleazy hotel.
But yeah, I mean, I'm down for it, and all these things may seem like kind of like trying a bit hard, but I'm into it. And let's change.
You know how I feel about effort.
I don't see it as objectionable. I feel like the NBA owners or governors or the commissioner, whatever that composite of bodies is, are worried about the future of the league. And instead of saying, you know what, we actually do need to share more money with the players. We do need to have more players in ownership and management. We do need to have more diversity. They're like, no, we're going to solve this by just, how about you call us something different?
Right.
Like, it seems like a totally superficial way of them acknowledging that there is a real, I think, tide turning in some of the things that Jalen Rose spoke about and LeBron certainly talks about, where players are not happy with this dynamic and have more of a voice to let that be known. There is more sympathy now for players than I think there's ever been.
I agree, and it's great. And I think Silver sees that, like you said, and I sound like a after-school special, but like sometimes words are super impactful. And to tell one of these investors that they can no longer call themselves an owner, that like sends a real message, I think. And
I mean, how much are they going to do that, though? Is that like they can't call it on their website or in their official press releases? But I'm sure when they're all
just
hanging out at the club.
It doesn't matter. Like, all Silver has to do is say it once. and then they don't have to follow that.
I like that
rule,
every
you know?
time Jordan describes it, it's like this weird sex party. It's just like with masks of
You know, NBA,
antelopes.
the
and
sex
NBA.
party, the sex party league.
Like that's Mark Cuban over there wearing like a weird Wolverine headdress,
The straight shots playing in the next room.
and they're all naked wearing pink ski masks.
I mean, you don't think that that's how it goes down? They're all like identifying one another by their $300,000 wristwatches that they won't take off and leave in the locker room.
What did you think of Drake's watch?
He had a watch?
It was a very expensive watch. What was it, like $700,000?
And it said, "Let me kiss your pussy" on it.
Yeah, but it has an old, like someone got to the bottom of it and it has like an old, I wish I read the article. I wasn't that interested, so I don't really care about it. But it had like an old reference
off.
to it. I'm about to go off. I don't care. People were just really wowed by the cost of it, I think. And then the words.
So it has writing on it and a generally lewd, I believe most of them were kind of lewd sort of sayings on the watch, and then they cost an exorbitant amount of money, like a comical amount of money.
Wait, it's not even a custom? Like these are just watches that are made?
I believe, yeah. And I think it has kind of like a woke origin to it. So, like, I believe people were making fun of it, and then it was like, oh, it references something really powerful or whatever. I don't know.
Interesting. Honestly didn't think $700,000 was that much for a watch. If you're Drake.
It's almost free.
I got into this argument about Future buying his son, Future, a Rolex watch. And their son is like 2 or 3 years old. And people on the internet, some people were outraged at it. And I was like, well, I mean, if I have a kid, if I'm lucky enough to have a kid, I'd probably put him in Jordans, like a little like cool shoes.
Baby Jordans.
Yeah, for sure. And like Future and buying his wife's Future and Ciara, I guess they're broken up, but Future buying his son a Rolex is just like an issue of like how much money you have, right? Like if I had Future money, I'd probably buy my son.
I don't know
a Rolex.
if that was the source of it, that it was too expensive. I think it was more like, what's a little kid going to do with a Rolex?
Well,
That's the cost.
But it's not that it costs so much. It's more like it's a little kid. Like, not that if you said like, we bought him a ball that cost $1 million, but it's super fun. Like, you're like, okay, that's too much, but he can play with it.
No,
But
the argument was about money. It was all
But
only
also
about money.
these kind of things that people do, it's like they buy legacy items. It's like, so then it's like...
He inherits a watch.
He inherits a watch, and it's like, oh, I bought you this watch when you were a little baby, and I've been waiting for you to like become a young man, so now you can have this watch. It's like it's a definite it's a sweet gesture, and all these poor people can go jump in a lake.
I just thought
Stop
it was
complaining about being
the
poor.
biblical lake.
Yeah, the biblical lake.
the critique I saw was people saying, this is what happens when you don't know your kid. You're like, I'll buy him a Rolex. I know he's into that. And it's like, no, he likes dinosaurs. That was the criticism I saw. That people were like, this is what you do when you're like, your kid is a stranger to you.
Oh, it's like a Cat Stevens type thing, huh?
I mean, obviously, a kid has no use for a men's watch, you know.
It's like,
But it's like what Jordan says. Like I would start a trust fund for my kid, and if the kid doesn't want to go to college, I'm like, all right,
yes,
I don't know my kid.
I know, but put it in a vault, pay for your education if President Sanders doesn't eliminate that debt.
Yang gang, dude.
No, but it's like when I was a kid, I had like my grandfather's watch that like I couldn't wear because I was too small for it. But it was mine, and I looked forward to the day when I could eventually wear the watch. And so maybe Future doesn't have a grandfather's watch, and he just was buying this new kind of like family heirloom legacy item. This is what I'm thinking.
He's a forward thinker. His name is Future.
Yeah.
And the kid's name is Future. How else are they going to approach this?
Yes.
You can wear this in the future.
I mean, duh.
I don't know.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the procedure.
What's this trust the procedure thing?
It's your favorite player who was brought on to the Celtics as a big money guy and ends up being a cancer on that team.
Aaron Bones? Is that why they got rid of him? No one liked him?
One of the Morrises?
Amore? Yo, how did Sixers do in the draft?
Oh, are you trying to bait me?
Don't go off. King.
Oh, yeah. So last week's draft, as a Sixers fan, I was left a little flummoxed by their approach, although not surprised, because they went into the night with 5 draft picks. They had one in the first round, and they had 4 second rounders, including 2 which were in, like, I think, 33 and 34. So prime second round picks, the kind of guys you could find generally in the first round. There's not a big difference between the 33rd pick and the 30th pick, just
Also,
numerically.
Also true second rounders because they are in the second round.
Right. But you can get late first round talent there. That's kind of what happens. If you look at second round picks who go on to have success, they're naturally picked early in the second round. As
And
one would
conversely,
suspect.
late first round picks kind of are closer to second round picks, and a lot of them don't work, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So anyway,
I believe it's called a much of a muchness.
yeah,
Is that Australian candy bar?
Yes.
cheese twisties.
Wait, you don't know the expression "much of a muchness"? Oh, it means more of the same, or like basically the same thing.
I like it. It's like how the French say touche.
Or do they? I thought it was touche,
Oh, really?
and it means something different.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, anyhow,
Go off.
I
Don't go
will
off,
I will
King.
say that the Sixers draft was deeply disappointing.
Could we get a grade?
I would give it a F.
Oh!
An F for what?
There it is, the F.
Wow.
Yeah, I went there. Some thought I might give him a D minus, an E. Nope, the F bomb.
All right. Tell us why.
For me, it's less about the fact that they just sold picks for cash, that they used one of the picks to move up, to take a guy that they could have just taken someone else or not showed their hand to the Celtics.
So they
Like-
drafted Tabuye. Is that how you say it? Taibul. Taibul.
Touche.
Thibault.
Touche.
Touche?
Touche. Wait, does Danny Ainge just love fucking with the Sixers? Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah. I mean, if you put together the full spectrum on this, it's that they got the pick. Sorry, this is really it's too boring to get into, but also interesting to what you said, because the pick that they just ransomed the Sixers for, the 33rd pick, was the one that the Sixers got from the Magic for Markelle Fultz. So it actually is a full fucking by Danny Ainge of the Sixers in like many different directions. Just a Neumann
amazing
probe.
what that man can accomplish from his deathbed.
He was on TV the other day. He seems good. Oh, I mean, Ainge did. Oh, I almost blew that.
But anyway, yeah, it was they sold off picks in a greedy, foolish endeavor that they've done in the past, and that was what bothered me, because when we saw the Sixers have Elton Brand come in as GM, people were feeling optimistic that it would be a change in the way they've conducted business since Hinkie was pushed out, and it is clear
He really
they're not.
Magic Johnsoned that team, didn't he?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that was, to me, why it was disappointing, was that it was the same regressive, foolish, short-sighted thinking that plagued the previous administration, and it's all the same people, and Elton's a figurehead. And it was like, oh, the mistakes that the Sixers have made since Hinkie was ejected are going to continue apace until the franchise is doomed.
And
Like, that's going to happen. They're going to keep
responded
fucking
to
up.
the ire with like, just wait and see. I got some tricks up my sleeve, which we'll see. Which I will be signing another thick god probably.
I mean, it's clear that it's a disastrous front office. They have made disastrous...
It's the same front office that was there before Elton
It's
Brand.
literally the people who are telling Brian Colangelo what to do are now telling Elton Brand what to do. There's not even a difference. It's the same people.
It's funny because sometimes boomers.
So your efforts were for nothing. You went after the wrong guy.
There's got to be some more burners out there.
but you know, like
You got to get the low-level people. You got to get the guy behind the guy, Ben.
But seriously, it's the same people. And Elton Brand is making the exact same mistakes we saw that's put this franchise in a position where if Jimmy Butler leaves, they're unbelievably screwed.
Mm-hmm.
They have almost no chance of becoming a title-winning team if Jimmy Butler leaves. They have created this narrow corridor.
Conversely,
to
if
convention.
Jimmy Butler stays, they are a title contender.
Exactly, it's wild.
like-
It's wild.
Yeah.
What about if Jimmy Butler goes for that sign and trade that people are talking about?
Imagine the Sixers doing that.
It's so dumb.
We'll
No,
take
no,
we'll
no,
take
but if-
Tucker and Gordon. Like,
But if Jimmy Butler's like, I'm going to split and I want to go to the Rockets, and the only way I can get to the Rockets is through a sign and trade.
Just let him walk.
you say, well, you can't do it without a sign and trade. So
Yeah, he makes
go
more money.
Go
in
somewhere
Philly.
else.
Yeah.
We don't want Eric Gordon making $17 million a year.
Okay, well, this is what I'm asking. You're the fucking expert. Answer my question. You don't want Capella and Eric Gordon? They wouldn't help your team?
No,
But don't you need shooting and guards?
No, you let them walk and then you try to sign someone else.
they're too expensive for that deal.
Who are you going to get? Who's going to sign with bloody Philadelphia?
Shootars.
I mean, that's
Ricky Rubio? Is that who you want? Probably.
I mean, but I'm saying that's a valid thing. It's like, who else are you going to get? But my answer would be, as you said, yeah, like, okay, try to go get Brogdon and Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
I don't want Tucker and
Yeah.
Gordon, even though they're solid players.
Yes.
They're not cheap.
At that point, you scour who's available in the league, who's under contract. Like your options are there.
But more so, you just don't get bullied into taking guys who aren't that great by the Rockets.
yeah,
and-
but
and
guess
Jimmy
what?
Butler.
They're probably going to get bullied into taking guys that aren't that great.
No, you just let them go.
Yeah.
No, but you just spent the last 20 minutes and maybe the last 5 years talking about what fucking imbeciles they are. Why do you think that they won't do this, Jimmy Butler?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Why won't they do it?
Yeah.
I just think they're intent on giving him a max. And
The
he's-
1 star.
And he's probably going to take it.
I think they're in, a lot of these boomer franchises are into consolidation. So I think Jimmy Butler as like the superstar of the 4 players, they want him.
So Simmons to the Lakers in the next year or so?
Ironically, the biggest issue facing Philly is that if Butler goes, this ends with Simmons being traded. It ends with Brett Brown being fired. And I remember, Jordan, you talked about this like a couple months ago, that there is a very grim avalanche of occurrences of the butterfly effect here, of the Sixers failing to put a good roster together and then having someone like Jimmy go. Like, it's really dicey for Philly right now.
But every team faces this, right? And that's why, like, when you see Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant go down, and you see even the procedure in Boston or how it might unravel for the Sixers, like, that's why I'm just like, oh, I don't care. Like, let's just see this thing play out. You
Sure.
know, like, it's hard. It's hard to be like, no, they let it unravel. I'm like, oh, things just unravel so fast.
Oh, I'm here for the unraveling. Like, I know it's your squad, but I would love to see the Sixers unravel. I would love to see Ben Simmons.
They haven't even
Somewhere else.
raveled yet, really.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I mean.
But
No, like raveled up to even unravel. Like they haven't even gotten anywhere.
even though they've won a championship and Embiid has 1 ring, they have yet to fully ravel.
I feel like Covington deserves a ring, though. Can we just give him one, sort of, for
Yes.
his contributions to the process? Hollis Thompson.
Who would be the process Hall of Famers? Roten, Cove.
Joe.
I mean, aside from like the top 5 picks, like
For me, it's just Tony Roten or nothing.
Frazier. Frazier.
Dario?
Dario, yeah.
Dario's cool.
He's a process Hall of
Definitely,
Famer.
because he was.
Yeah.
They stashed him for a couple of years.
But just before we move on, like, I don't think they get an F. I think they got their guy. They got a really excellent defender that everybody wanted. We even talked about it on Cookies, like, get this guy. They got him. Ty Jerome was out there, and it was down to them, those 2 guys, I think, and they walked away with 1.
But my thing is,
That's
those
a
are
success.
to me those are 2 different things. Like we can say they got the guy they wanted. Maybe he ends up being good. Maybe not. He's a 24th pick
As a
in the draft.
prospect, success.
But that's kind of like it's looking at the draft as
Results based.
it's not even it's results based, but it's also like saying, okay, here's a meal. The chicken's good. Every other part that you're eating here is trash. Like you just served garbage, and then you're like, how was that meal? And you're like, well, the chicken was pretty good.
That's better than chicken not being good.
Sure, but like they're not combined to say like they got their guy and then they just wasted 4 picks.
But like,
Why? Like how, that doesn't make it good.
a chicken dinner where the chicken's really good is like not an F, right? You still had dinner.
No, it's a winner chicken dinner.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I would rather them.
But
pick
the odds are
players.
that guy doesn't end up Thibault
Yeah,
Fabuli
because
doesn't end up a good player.
because the Sixers didn't have good picks. Like Ty
Right.
Jerome probably is not going to be.
But that's
good.
kind of what I'm saying. Is like we can't say it was a good draft because they got their guy. Well, we don't know if that guy is going to be good. He was a 4-year senior who averaged 7 points a game. He might be a really good defender. He might be a guy who plays 2 seasons at NBA and then goes to China. We have no idea.
See, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but that's still you still got your guy. You got the guy that you wanted. Then it's a good thing.
like
but we don't know if that
Pelicans.
guy. We don't know if that guy is good though.
Yeah, Pelicans got the guy that they wanted. Who knows if he's going to be good?
yeah, and I don't care about. Yeah, Jordan's right. Like I don't care about how good or bad these players end up being. Like Cameron Johnson was an awful pick. That's an F. Zion Williamson. Yeah, you take him 1. That's an A. Whatever. But I think. Even if they end up being like, if Cameron Johnson ends up being an all-star and Zion Williamson blows out his knee like Greg Oden. But I think I don't even think the Sixers had enough money to buy a chicken dinner. They didn't have picks. So there's no way it
What do
could
you
be a
mean? They had
failure.
33 and 34.
It wasn't good. Like they're not, yeah, for sure. If you're eating at
They had
a cheap
4
restaurant,
times the amount of second-round picks as the average team.
who did you want them to take at those spots?
I don't care about the draft.
My God.
My point is, you're not doing process or results. You're splitting the difference, and I won't stand for it. Because if you're going to say it's about process, then you're like,
You're
okay,
more process. I'm a little more results based.
but if you're
in this
results based,
discussion.
we've never seen this guy play a minute. We don't know that he'll be anything.
Yeah, you're hedging on he's not going to work out.
I'm not hedging on
You
that.
guys are like a couple of old women.
What do you think about this, Jordan?
I think I don't give a flying fuck about
Thank
the
you.
Sixers.
Finally.
All their stupid draft.
Thank you, an F. Okay, 2 Fs and
I give him like a C. But whatever.
take a stand for once.
A C.
See, that's the stand. What else is going on, guys? That's not Sixers fucking
RJ
related?
Barrett.
Oh, RJ Barrett.
Yeah, how's your team's draft, huh? Big draft guru, big board.
I was reasonably optimistic about them taking RJ Barrett, and then I listened to the flurry of interviews he did right after the draft. Dudes, he's a boomer. He like wants to win. He dreamt of being a Knick.
There
Like,
are a
he's-
lot of warning signs. So
You hate to see it.
it's difficult to observe. It's challenging to perceive. But so Barrett was the 3rd pick in the draft, went to the Knicks. He played 1 year at the one and done bus factory, Duke University.
Coach K curse.
He was not a great college player. He was good, but he also was in the shadow of Zion Williamson, who went 1st overall. So Knicks fans became really enamored by Barrett after it was announced that they got the 3rd pick in the draft. So he was universally the guy that Knicks, like cognoscenti
There's a
media,
big drop-off after
everybody wanted Barrett.
Yeah.
So are you happy with how this worked out as a Knicks fan?
Well, they're in relegation, so like they got to fight their way back into the league, and you just take the best player. Do nothing. The Knicks, now that Durant went down with that awful injury, I think the Knicks have been doing what I want them to do. Is like just take the best player there. Don't just go down the line of the 5 free agents, offer them max, and if they don't sign, just tank again. You know, like just be patient and
It's
win.
going to be hard to tank with the
Not being
god
in the
Julius
league.
Randle on the squad.
He cannot defend a lick.
I mean, that's great.
I do not want him anywhere near a team I want to watch.
All right, so Kuo, here's the question for you. As a Knicks fan who is often skeptical of their front office's moves,
Yeah.
although you were on board with the Porzingis trade, you seem to be on board with this pick. So my question here is, what you've just outlined is the sensible approach to get a star. If you don't get him, just go back. Be shitty, take on some bad contracts, scoop up some more assets, and just keep rebuilding in a sensible way, which takes patience, but
And
hopefully
may not
you'll
work
get,
out, yeah.
But you'll get rewarded with some picks and some young guys,
load up.
etc. Is there any chance that the Knicks sit there with 2 max slots and don't fill them? Is there any chance in the universe they don't sit there with that 2 max things burning a fucking hole in their pocket and be like, Julius Randle, maxed him. JJ Redick, $15 million a year. And who else is out there?
Tobias Harris, man.
Thaddeus Young, 17 million. Like, is there any way that the Knicks are able to stop themselves from spending that money?
I don't know because it's the Knicks, but I try not to think about the history of these teams and just like the behaviors of the guys in charge. And Perry came out and was just like, we were not going to load up on middle tier.
Yeah,
we're not going to offer Middleton. We're not going to offer Tobias. We're not doing that. It's top tier, and then we're going to save our money.
Yeah,
I don't know if I believe him, but
That's
what
what I'm saying. Do you believe them, though?
I mean, Perry could think that and want to do that, and then he gets a knock from the lead singer of the Straight Shot and being like, go get me Julius Randle.
I mean, if we know anything about the NBA, it's that people lie all the time. And this seems like a lie to me.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah. Kyrie Irving.
I mean, I
I'll
don't
be
blame you.
back next year right here on center court.
I love Kyrie. Change your mind, man. KD should change his mind too, and the Knicks might change their mind as well. And I don't love RJ Barrett, but this team is going to be fun. It's going to win 15 games. But the draft, in terms of the Knicks,
Like, don't you almost assume that their signings will be like Darren Collison? Like, I find it very hard to believe they won't bring in a veteran point guard, because that just seems like the way they think.
Yeah, and I'm going to say no, just because I think they finally are not going to do classic Knicks stuff, just because Perry's there. And they've been bad for so long. And it's interesting, right? Because like a lot of boomers are just like, you guys are rooting for suits and not actual players. I'm like, yeah, because they have all the influence. So I just stare at like that Knicks front office list and how many years they've been there.
Did you stand outside the front office and stare at it?
That's when he's not looking for bloodstains outside of One Oak.
Where is...
Just looking for bloodstains, staring into the skies, trying to find his like little
Couldn't find the
UFO
bloodstain.
guys.
They're here already, baby. Got my baby in.
Well done.
Thank you. It was very uneventful, actually, the draft. You know, there wasn't any shockers. I think there were some bargains, but do we really care about Clark if you're not like a diehard fan? Like, the results won't play themselves out for like 3 or 4 more years. So that's the draft. Cam Reddish was a steal.
One of the guys at the Knicks...
At 10, right?
Yeah, steal.
How'd he go so goddamn low?
He had a really bad season at Duke, but he could be really good.
So the Knicks have not been listed particularly as a destination for Kemba Walker. People, that was one of the guys we kind of thought that the Knicks might be going after. I haven't heard a lot about noise about that relationship, and which is surprising because Kemba is a star player. He's from New York City. He's had some of the greatest moments of his basketball career on the Garden floor in the Big East tournament. He's a local legend and the best player from New York City right now on the planet. But nothing. The new team where Kemba is rumored to,
The procedure.
the Beantown Celtics.
Danny Ainge wants Kemba Walker, and they're going to offer him the max. And Kemba has said he's going to take less money to stay with Michael Jordan in Charlotte. He's said repeatedly, like, I am not going anywhere. I love Charlotte. But apparently the Celtics, who lost Al Horford this week, who negotiations broke down. Now he's looking for a 4-year contract, I believe. People are speculating perhaps an LA team, but at a discount.
People are also talking about the Sixers, which is pretty funny. And
So thick.
he's
Good. He's good.
good player. I heard from a source
Cal Horford.
2.5 weeks ago that Horford was rumored to the Sixers, and I laughed when I heard it, and now here we are.
Every good team should be a rumor for Al Horford. Like, he should be rumored to go to the Jazz, the Sixers.
Oh, he's a jazz man for sure.
Jazzy?
Could you get him and Millsap back together?
Get the
In
bang,
Salt
the
Lake.
gang's all here. Millsap is a big deal. We're going to find out really soon if he's going to opt in, I believe. Does he have a player option? $30 million, I believe.
I think it's a player option, yeah.
I wanted the
30
Knicks
mil.
to take him with a pick and just pay his contract for a year. But he's still good. What do you guys think? I'm not as big on Kemba as some people are.
I am about as big on him as you are. He's little.
He's really good. He's really good.
He's really good. He's going to be old and little.
Well, he's 28, so this contract is still nice. You know, he's going to be 32 by the time this is over. So I don't think age plays a huge role here. And no team keeps these players for longer than 4 years. So I think we're good to go there. He doesn't shoot well from the field. He does very well at the line. He's a below average guard defender because he's small, like you said. And he's just like an awesome player to watch. I think he is a dribble bias king.
I think Kemba is really, really good and underrated. I also think that makes me sound like a boomer because he always gets compared.
We run that risk.
He always gets compared to Kyrie, and
Kyrie's so much better.
It's definitely a boomer thing to say you prefer Kemba because he's not weird.
Yeah.
Because Kemba's like Mr. Good Guy. Jim Calhoun at UConn, I remember telling me that Kemba was like his favorite guy he ever coached, and
He's
like,
lovable.
He's just seems like a really, really sweet, great guy.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's enigmatic and weird, and
The best.
you know, leaves his teams and all this stuff. And Kemba's Mr. Loyalty, so it puts me kind of on the wrong side of my belief system.
Sure.
But I do think Kemba is exceptionally good, and is just one of those guys who's sort of toiled in obscurity. And I do think, with the way that the league is now, being guard-friendly and spaced out, he's one of the more difficult guys to contain.
He doesn't shoot well,
Other
though.
than Kyrie. I just mean you can't stay in front of him.
He's sweet.
In this era, to me, I think he could have a chance to have sustained success late in his career in the way that, like Iverson, when he went to Denver, and all of a sudden the league was more spread out, and you couldn't just hand check him. You couldn't keep him away from the basket.
Whoa.
And he was able to kind of, sort of in his early 30s, still be a kind of better version that he was early in his career because of the way that the league had changed. And I think Kemba, in like a pace and space, being the predominant basketball philosophy of our age, is one of those guys who's going to be very good for a really
Okay, do you want
long
him on
time.
the Sixers, or are you just trying to get him to New York? Like the
I'd
saboteur
love him on the
you are.
Sixers.
Yeah, he would put the Sixers over the top.
He'd be freaking great there.
Him or Jimmy?
I'll take Jimmy, but Kemba's awesome.
Yeah, Jimmy, I rank over Kemba.
Just because he's a better defender.
Do you
He's
want
a defender. Kemba, defense is not part of his game.
I mean, he is one of the league leaders in steals, but yeah, he's
That's a weird stat.
little.
You letting Tobias walk, by the way?
If you sign Jimmy, you should sign Tobias
Mm-hmm.
because the way that the cap holds work, you can kind of get more bang for your buck, and it doesn't really matter what you pay Tobias if Jimmy's under contract. If Jimmy leaves, then I would not be that excited to pay Tobias Harris a max contract to be your third guy, because then you can't add someone else. I'd kind of rather, I don't know, it's
Be
just
your third guy?
Would you rather
over
pay
Simmons?
Brogdon?
who's your second guy?
Wait, you said
Embiid, Simmons, and then Tobias, right?
That's what I'm saying. If Jimmy leaves and you're paying Tobias to be your third guy, that's not a title winning.
if Jimmy Lee.
Yeah. If you have Jimmy there and Tobias is your fourth, then you're like in business.
Unless you lose to the world champion Toronto Raptors.
Except they technically
We-
won and
right.
are the champions. So who will dethrone the Philadelphia 76ers?
It's hard to keep a championship team together, as we're finding out in Philly. But don't you see Malcolm Brogdon being like, "Fuck it, we're gonna give him $18 million. Let's do it."
Bro, Brogdon's going to make so much money.
So much money, and he ceases to become a value at that point. But at times, he was the second best player on the Bucks.
He's very good, and I know this talk is clearly upsetting Redaelli as the local Milwaukee loyalist. I see him trembling over the fear of losing Brogdon in free agency, but the guy's got to get his money, man.
Get paid, Brogdon.
Dude, I'm happy for him to leave. I love watching players go elsewhere.
Even from your heart and soul.
Yeah. Again, I don't care who wins unless
As long as it's the Bucks.
I only care who wins if I guess them right.
I like that. Checks out.
I mean, I would like to see Brogdon on the Lakers. I
thought you called him Steve Brogdon. I just started laughing.
I like
Where
that.
will Steve Brogdon go?
Let's just call everyone Steve from now on. Steve Embiid. Steve Barrett.
I met a dog called Steve once. It was nice.
I like dogs with human names.
Me too.
Like my friend had a dog named Chuck, which I thought was
Chuck
really
is good.
sweet. Before the show, Chuck. My friend just got a dog, named him Monday.
Monday's nice.
Got him on Monday, this Monday.
But there's certain names that wouldn't work, like David.
Oh, I like David. That's great.
For a dog?
Yeah, don't pet David. He's hungry.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. But I think we
That's
all
good.
are, right? Like just Paul the dog.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, oh, Paul's acting nuts again. It's just like, why? Is he back from work? It's like, no, he pooped on the floor.
Here's my cat, Jordan.
Well, there must be many pets named Jordan.
Yeah.
For a famous podcaster from Australia.
DeAndre Jordan?
Who's a Laker, right? He's going to be a Laker. There's no way he's not going back to L.A.
I want to see D'Angelo Russell back in LA. That is a fun team.
D'Lo was an all-star, and I really love what the Nets did with him, and they're not going to get value after he just walks for nothing. He's a risky max player if you put like 4 or 5 years in. He's got holes in his game.
Yeah,
but he's still very good.
But he's also really young.
Yeah, he's
So
very young.
He's one of the few guys out of these players that we're mentioning that does have legitimate upside. Most of them are stars in their prime, or we're talking about Kemba, Jimmy Butler,
He could get better.
Guys who are approaching their 30s or already in them, and he's so young that his prime might not be for 3 seasons. A concern that you don't have about him at all is that he will decline via age, but we also don't know if he's going to get a lot better.
Yeah, and when I say he has holes in his game, I mean he's a suspect switcher on defense. He maybe is a ball pounder. He likes to hold the rock. He's not really a pace guy. Shoots okay. He's big for his position, but that's what I'm talking about when he has holes in his game.
One thing about his game that I've noticed and in the net system is that they really reward statistically point guards. And, whether it would be someone like Jeremy Lin or Dinwiddie, all their lead guards, because they run so many pick and rolls, can amass stats nicely. They get shots up, they get a lot of assists, and the team is unselfish. That's not to diminish any of their talent, but Russell's in a very ideal place to put up some nice numbers. Although, that said, he didn't play huge minutes. They had 3 good guards. It wasn't like he was just dropping like 38 minutes a night.
And he was bad when Karis LeVert was running that offense. So if LeBron is running the offense in LA, I don't know what kind of D'Lo we'll see.
Right. And also with him, he doesn't get to the line at all. And he's one of those dudes who will settle for like floaters and little mid-range pull-ups, which and I haven't done a deep dive on his numbers, those aren't shots that are sustainably makeable for a career unless you're Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hole in your game.
And who wants to be Chris Paul?
Point God.
But D'Lo is worth the max. Someone will give him a ton of money. I don't even know if we don't have to go into the Lakers, but they don't have enough money for D'Lo, right? Like, don't they have to shed more cap space and to get Anthony Davis to let go of his $4 million trade in his trade kicker? That's a lot.
I mean, Russell, not to get too dorky here, but Russell's true shooting percentage was 53%, which is a decent amount below average. And that's kind of disturbing if you're talking about a guy that's going to be, the star on your team. I really like his game. I think he's great at basketball. You watch him play, he's just filthy. Like, eye test just is really checks out with him. Incredible passer. He sees the angles. People can't stay in front of him. He's just a really good basketball player. But, like, his career true shooting percentage, it's like 52%. Like, he's never actually been an efficient scorer ever at any point.
Yeah.
Can I just... I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that people think that Anthony Davis won't waive this $4 million trade kicker. Why would he not waive it? Him and his agent, who's also LeBron James's agent, forced their way to the Lakers early and liquidated their future. Why wouldn't he? And he's going to make a ton more money over the next 5 years or whatever when he re-signs with them in Hollywood. Why wouldn't he just eat that $4 million so that they can have a good team?
Because he's been oddly prickly. Like, he's been like, I'm going to test free agency again. Because I think Rich Paul doesn't want to seem like he's tampering or whatever. We all know what's going on. Also, people are just like, he might do it or might not. But the Lakers are going to try to create room. We just have to find out. Like, I don't think anyone would be surprised either way because $4 million is a lot of money, and $4 million is a lot of money to sign another player over the top. But he's an oddly prickly guy, so that's why.
Interesting.
What'd you see? What do you see?
Just looking at some of Russell's numbers, you know, he could turn into a really, really, really good three-point shooter. I know he isn't that yet, but that's my kind of takeaway from his game and looking at his numbers. Like, he's one of those dudes that maybe if you put him alongside more talent, he might just become like a 40% three-point shooter.
That'd be amazing.
And that would really change everything he's capable of. And Kyrie kind of had that sort of transformation too, that he was an inefficient guy as sort of the lead dude, and then as he developed into himself as a player, just became a really good shot maker, and now is like a legitimate superstar.
Yeah, I mean that would be the optimal career path for D'Lo. Absolutely, he's already an all-star in a weak Eastern Conference, but he's worth the max. And I think him going back to the Lakers would be the funniest.
I mean, that said, Kyrie was always a better shooter than Kyrie's always a really good shooter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just my Russell upside is that I think he actually can become an excellent outside shooter.
There's rumors that they're really lobbying hard. Devin Booker's lobbying hard to get him in Phoenix.
Wow, that backcourt defense.
That team is like hilarious, man. Josh Jackson's gonna get traded, right? And Ayton, Booker.
You love talking about the Suns.
Yeah, because they're like the failed process.
The Suns are not in the NBA.
Are they relegated with the Knicks?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the Knicks are in a worse relegated league, though. Is the Knicks' young core better than the Suns' young core?
No.
Are we sure?
Yes. Positive.
Can you explain?
No. No, I can't. I mean, you're saying are you including RJ Barrett in this?
Of course.
Okay, so basically all you're saying is RJ Barrett, Frankie Smokes, and Mitchell Robinson is better than Booker and Ayton.
And Knox. Yeah.
And Knox. I forgot. I mean, come on, forget about Knox.
Yeah, but Ayton's good, but I prefer Mitchell Robinson over him. And then in a vacuum, I kind of think the Knicks are just like the same.
It's weird with the Knicks. There's been this little outcropping of optimism from Knicks fans.
From who? Oh, you think so?
Yeah, after the draft, we're like, oh, they're kind of putting it together. And I saw like Jalen and Jacoby were like, it's not looking too shabby when you start looking at the
Oh, I saw that.
at the young guys the Knicks have. And I'm a little bit more of a skeptic because I think the Knicks are absolute garbage. I don't like any of their prospects except for Mitchell Robinson, who is awesome.
What don't you like about RJ Barrett?
It's a boomer. He wanted to be a Knick.
That's fair. He calls himself the Maple Mamba.
Yeah,
You can't have that stuff around.
So he loves the Toronto Raptors, but he wanted to be a Knick. That's just bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's like fucking
Go off, Cyrus.
sloganeering. He's just saying that shit so that he'll be embraced by New York and he'll become like the top dog in town.
He's a damn boomer.
He's a boomer.
He's a bullshit artist.
Thank you.
Like sitting up on the podium like, damn, I can't believe I'm a Knick. It's like, oh, you
That
said that
sucked.
just under your breath enough
That
for the microphone
sucked.
to pick it up. You fucking charlatan. Oh, get him out of here already. I'm sick of RJ Barrett.
Same. Oh, and then he
Grade
gets drafted.
grubbing
They
motherfucker.
take him straight to like Dykeman or the Rucker, and he's up there, New York City, the Mecca. Get this boomer shit out of here. He was mentioning like Smith and Wesson.
He probably
talking
loves
about,
Outkast. He knows who Outkast is.
He was talking about the
Get
Cocoa.
him out
He was
of
talking
here.
about the Cocoa Brothers.
You can name every member of the BCC.
Can rap the words of Black Trump.
So he's gonna, oh God, he's gonna be driving down
Capone
Broadway with
Noriega,
Fat
12
Joe.
inches.
No, bullshit artist.
He can name every member of the firm and the commission.
What?
Yeah, but so can you.
Yeah, but we're boomers over here.
I'm not a number 3 overall pick.
Yeah, he's a teen. Like, where's your culture? Like, how are you not listening to
Lil Nas X.
God,
Lil
yeah,
Nas X.
look, give him his fucking 8-ball jacket and then ship his ass out of town.
Thank you.
Yo, those are all over Ludlow right now. I was walking on Ludlow during the day. Everyone's got an 8-ball jacket in the window.
I mean, they've always been all over Ludlow.
Yeah,
Orchard.
I thought they
Orchard.
Orchard, yeah.
But I thought they disappeared like this decade, but
No,
came back with the subway thing.
No, you know how expensive those things are? They're like $800. They just keep hanging them in the windows until somebody buys one.
I wrote a little
They're all
story
faded.
about,
Oh, yeah,
about
that's
the 8-ball comeback maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I went to Orchard and got some quotes from those dudes.
Yeah.
Because of the subway story.
Yeah, the Subway brawler.
Yeah, because two girls were clowning on his jacket, and he ends up like getting physical, maybe, and it
Yeah,
went viral.
exactly. That was it.
And everyone was just like, "Well, they're kind of right." But
I think I had a Jesus quote in there about like never fight someone in an 8-ball jacket or something along those lines.
Not
Like,
wrong. Also, never pick on someone with an M&M's jacket on.
oh yeah, that's
oh, you don't go there.
Like, if somebody's rapping candy, they're fucked up. Like, oh, I love candy so much. I'm going to put candy patches all over this expensive leather jacket.
It's like, yo,
And I'm not even
Juji fruits. My bad. My
Dude,
bad.
I'm not even
Is that
selling
a
this
Mars
shit on
bar in your hat? I'm out.
Yo, what's the hardest candy you can think of? Mike and Ike's?
Necco wafers.
Good and Plenty.
Good and
the... Well, I
Plenty's
love
very
Good and
tough.
Plenty.
It's like, damn, he came in with licorice.
Jolly Ranchers, like they're like annoying to eat.
Yeah, but they've been co-opted because they were like a southern like lean thing, right? So
Oh
now
yeah, yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
like Jolly.
That's true. That's true. Jolly Ranchers are too mainstream.
Pretty light. I know you got one. Crunch Bar. That's pretty hard.
Yeah. Twizzlers.
Twizzies.
Twizzlers are fucking so gross because in the West Coast you have what is it?
Red Vines.
Red Vines, and they're amazing.
I prefer Red Vines.
Yeah, Red Vines are amazing. On the East Coast we have fucking Twizzlers. It's
Twizzies.
It's basic.
Twizzler.
Twizzlers have the same texture of a drinking straw that somebody has been chewing on.
They actually
Australian
use them as
licorice,
things.
good.
Oh yeah, Darryl Lee, baby. Oh, I'm sorry, Quo. I stepped on
You
your
stepped
thing.
on my baby line.
Well, Quo, don't mess with him because he's over there wearing a Score Bar shirt.
That's pretty hard.
Is that Heath?
What's the lightest
Oh
candy?
no, the best.
Haribo.
It's not really candy, but butter crunch cookies, like hood cookies. They're good.
True. I bought super thin Oreos the other day. Like,
God damn it! Now I'm gonna be on eBay looking for like vintage Hostess T-shirts and shit.
so what's your ideal find on eBay after this search
Of
of candy gang affiliated paraphernalia?
Full length Three Musketeers trench.
Three Musketeers is hard.
That's really
That's
hard.
just straight nougat, like foamy stuff. It's just like straight up,
let me see.
not mitigated with nuts or anything.
Yeah, Mounds is tough. Like just like coconut and one solitary areole ass almond.
No, I want a Snickers bandana.
Hard.
That's pretty hard.
Like, but it's brown. It's a brown bandana, which is gross to begin
Wait, there's Mounds, and what's the other one that's kind of
Almond
like
Joy.
Mounds adjacent? Yeah, Almond Joy.
Joy.
And then if you
Those
are
are
going
nice.
to if you got an extra 50 cents in your pocket, you can go out there to like some of the Indian bodegas and get a Bounty.
Oh, Bounties are nice.
Bounties, which is the English and Australian version of an Almond Joy or a Mounds, and I would say far superior. You get an extra 50 cents. Ooh, I want a high chew hoodie.
What's the difference? What's the difference between Mounds and Almond Joy? Does Mounds not have the almond?
No almond in it.
Yeah.
Other than that, they're identical.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Always next to each other in the display.
So I'm currently not eating sugar. I do this sometimes, but
Yeah, I'm not either.
But really,
Yeah, I'm off the sugar.
off the sugars. It seems like reverse psychology,
Joyless
but one way that I combat this is by following an Instagram called Candy Hunter.
Oh, I know that account. I think
It's great. It's
Yeah.
all like weird candies from around the world, all the different flavors of Kit Kats they have, or like
Japan's
some
wild,
gross like Nutella spread that's got
bananas. in
bananas.
it.
Yeah, whatever. And it actually, the descriptions of these candies and the packaging is so grotesque. Because in New York, we're used to this sort of artisanal packaging where they make it all look like slightly nice. In Germany, they don't do that.
Yeah, in
So if you
Taiwan,
look
they
at
don't
candies
do
from
it.
around the world, it's sickening. It's so Willy Wonka. and it
Our
makes me
candy
not
game
wanna
is
eat
not
sugar.
good. In all of the Western world, I think our candy game probably ranks like in the middle towards the bottom.
So what about like Hong Kong supermarket on Hester Street? They have these huge sections, and it's just all Asian candy, like lots and lots. And I don't know any of those any of the brands. I don't know any of them what they are. But is that kind of what you're saying, that there's just like a diversity of candy that we're just not aware of? We're just eating like mounds over here like suckers.
And there's a sense of humor in other countries where it's just like, we know this is wacky, but we want you to try it once. We're going to release it for a season, you know? We have Bean Boozled here, which is like gross flavored jelly beans that come out in Halloween.
Oh, yeah. I love those things.
Because half of them are tasty and the other half tastes like boogers.
Yeah. They're like, it's Jelly Belly.
Yeah, I love that brand.
Yeah. Me too. I love the pomegranate ones.
The ones that are like butter flavored.
But yeah, there's ones the ones that look like something but taste like farts.
Yeah.
And like you give somebody
toothpaste.
it's Halloween, so you give them to the kids and they come and trick or treat.
Boozled.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And you just like but do you eat them? I've like identified the gross ones and eaten all of them, and they're fucking disgusting.
I got Bean Boozled once and never went back.
Really? No,
They were very
I've
gross.
done it to myself. It's actually kind of amazing that was that somebody at that company was like, hey, let's make ones that taste like actual shit, and another one that tastes like vomit, and we'll
This one's that's ass.
yeah, no, kind of, and it's like, and we'll have people actually develop this by tasting these flavors over and over again, and then we'll sell them, and it won't affect our business. In fact, people will love it.
Remember when we found out collectively that cherry-flavored candy was originally derived from beaver butt, like a beaver gland?
No.
And then people was like, that's beaver butt, that's not vegan, whatever, that's gross. And people are like, that's so expensive. We haven't done that since the 20s.
It was like cocaine and Coca-Cola. It's like, this is not cost effective, man.
Yeah.
Did you know
could
that-
sell the stuff straight up.
So while we're on
baking
like
soda.
cherry flavored and candy and shit, Dr. Pepper is not popular in Australia. It's
love it quite a bit.
it's almost non-existent, and the reason is because it was introduced, I believe, in the early '70s into Australia. So it was late for Dr. Pepper, and that was the same time that cough drops and certain medicines started using cherry flavor as well. So there was an association between Dr. Pepper and being sick and medicine because it was the fake cherry flavor.
Is
Udins.
Dr. Pepper cherry flavored?
Yes. It's delicious.
No, I've had it before. I never knew that it was supposed to be cherry flavored.
And actually flavored with dates and not cherries, which is interesting.
I just did not know it was supposed to be cherry. I don't think I ever figured out. I thought it was like its own independent
Well,
flavor.
it is, but
such
it
as,
has
like,
it
ginger
has
ale. It's
cherries
just like
in the
something else.
profile. Ben, you got a wine fridge. You should know this.
The wine fridge got left in the Great Purge of
No, I still got it.
Williamsburg.
I still got it.
No, it's here?
It's here.
Where is it? Are you sitting on it? This is going to be a horrible reveal.
That's what actually like.
Yeah, there's no upside to this. They didn't find out that it's in a closet. Like it's
This is
That's
no
actually
upside to
it's that
this
we
reveal.
haven't. That's what his
RJ Barrett.
that's what his bed is made out of. 3 milk crates in a wine fridge.
Chilled.
It's kind of like a waterbed.
All right, I'm gonna go get something to eat because that candy has made me thirsty.
How long you been off the sugar?
About 2 weeks.
Are you off carbs?
Yeah.
Are you so no sugary mixers and drinks?
No, man. I've been drinking gin on the rocks with olives.
Gin is underrated. It's a very nice beverage. Usually someone has one bad gin experience and it ruins gin forever.
That's so true.
But it's nice.
I agree. I think we've all had that taste
we
aversion to
doing-
Tanqueray, where you
What-
smell it and you're like, oh, this reminds me of one of the worst days of my life.
Yes.
You were on that little pub crawl or bar crawl we did in the East Village after the original Fish closed, where we were rolling around to those different places doing gin shots. I believe that was an Andre Razzo. That he like we were trying to find the new spot that we was gonna visit before Second Fish was gonna open up. I was like, all right, we've got to find a new bar, which is gonna be. And I think it was Andre Razzo came up with the idea that if we took a gin shot and still liked the place, then it had potential.
We found a weird Eastern European rave place in, what was it, like 7th Street, that we were just like, this place is amazing. And he's like, oh, wait a second, guys. He pressed a button and the whole thing lit up with like strobe lights and like weird effects. And we
is
were
that like
psyched.
the Ukrainian spot?
It might have been. It definitely felt like it could have been. Are there any good Ukrainian bars in Greenpoint still? Are they all been priced
or
out?
Polish.
Oh, Polish. My bad.
There's a few. Jordan would know.
Yeah, there's that police one down the end of your street.
You hang out with cops.
McGinnis. Fuck yeah.
I guess you got to gain their trust.
Yes. I just, I need mustache tips.
Don't wear your
snitching
M&M
tips.
jacket into that
I remember,
place.
like,
I mean, I have to hang out with cops because I'm a CO. So
I remember, like
CI, I mean CO.
there was always I don't know if it was a legend or truth about Greenpoint, and like 20 years ago, you would see a lot of older Polish guys like on the street and like sleeping, and they weren't homeless. The whole, at least the mythology to it was that Polish dudes would get drunk and the women wouldn't let them back in their houses and they would sleep it off in the park. And that was just sort of like a cultural thing. It was like,
I mean, that checks out.
but it was, yeah, if you get wasted, sleep in the park. And it wasn't even like, oh, they're vagrants or they're homeless. It was just like, that's what you did. And I don't know if that's the case, but I do remember in that era when it was mostly Polish, there being a lot of dudes sleeping on the street. And I don't know if that was just a different New York City or a Polish tradition.
Respect.
Yeah, and if you're cheating on your wife, you could just pretend to be drunk, so then she tells you to go sleep in the park, but you actually go to your side piece's
You're
house.
stepping out. Ooh.
The Polish hammer.
Oh, gross. Cookies?
Gortat.
Martin Gortat, free agent today.
Cookies.
Cookies.
Candy.
I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.